Thank you, everybody. Let us start with our prayer. Om Niranjanam Nityamanantarupam Bhaktanukampa Vigraham Vai Ishavataram Parameshamityam Tam Ramakrishnam Shirshanama. Namaste, everyone, and welcome to our new series of talks on Bhagavad Gita, part of our study group. And we are starting with chapter 13. I hope you didn't have any problems getting yourself admitted through the website and downloading this PDF that I had shared. If anyone has had any problem, you can put your hands up in the chat and we'll try to help you out. So initially I thought we'll have a short introductory session because some people had come, but they have gone. So we'll have our full session and see how we go. Are you all able to see this shared screen? Vedanta Online Bhagavad Gita. Anyone can please confirm?
Yes, Swamiji.
Okay, very good. So many of us and you would have probably read the Bhagavad Gita. Some would have studied in detail. I know that some have been students attending Swami Sridharanji's classes the whole over many years, very detailed. Others, it might be new, introductory. So we'll try to cater for everyone. It might get a little boring sometimes for those who have studied very well. At the same time, we don't want to rush over and leave behind those who are new to this. So, but this is a study circle. It's not a one-way class where I will be discussing and explaining and you will be simply sitting and listening. I hope that you will understand that and come prepared for the classes by reading a couple of verses. So in the notes that I have sent you, and thanks to the feedback from Sunil, we have incorporated a few things. I'll cover these pages later, but each verse has got in Sanskrit. If you know how to read Sanskrit, even Hindi you can pick up. I would suggest that even if you do not know Sanskrit, this is a good time to learn a little bit of Sanskrit without much effort. The pronunciations, if you do not know the actual pronunciation of Sanskrit alphabets, it's given in transliteration. Idam, Shariram, Kaunteya, Ch13 iti abhidhiyate etadhyo vektitam prahu kshetrajna iti tadvida. Those who want to listen to the actual chanting of it, I will try to get, I have gotten, but I have to get somebody's permission for that. And then here you'll find that each word has got the English meaning behind it, next to it. And you'll notice that the words are not in the same sequence as it in the verse. Sanskrit is a very special language. It does not matter where you put the word in the sentence, the meaning does not change. So what we have done here is we have rearranged the Sanskrit word so that the English meaning becomes a logical, simple sentence. Otherwise, the English is all broken. So if I read that the Blessed Lord said, O son of Kunti, this body is referred to as the field. They who are versed with this call him who is conscious of or knows this body as the object of knowledge, is as the knower of the field. So the words are arranged and then you can just look at each word and say, idam means this, shariram means body, kshetramiti means as the field. In this way, you will find that as we go through, you will pick up many words and gradually your Sanskrit will also improve in there. And there's it's always better to read in the Sanskrit. It has got a deeper meaning and the translation loses meaning. And then we have got the English translation. Then we'll have the discussions on that. But after every verse, I have given something called notes and diagrammatic representation. And the idea is that you have to take the idea which was in the head of Sri Krishna, which he encoded in the Sanskrit verse, which we have translated in the English language. What is the message? What is the idea in his head that he's trying to communicate? And try to put it in your own language. And one of the good ways to do is to put it in a diagrammatic way, in a picture form, whichever way you like it. You'll find that probably one idea will require a couple of verses. So your picture that you'll draw will keep on growing. So you'll bring what is in the verse 2 to here, and then add something more to that. Maybe later on, make your notes, some questions, whatever is there. Anyway, this is meant for your classwork. So I would suggest that you print these 39 pages are there, put them in a particular folder, and slowly as we go through this, you make your notes, keep your colored pens and all those type of things, and flick through that around. And hopefully by the time we go to the end of the chapter, we have identified some key ideas, concepts, that you can afterwards say that, okay, chapter 13 of the Bhagavad Gita has got these 5 ideas, and you have been able to put them in one picture. So right at the end, you'll find there is one assignment that all of you have to submit when you come, and it says, okay, what is it? It says diagrammatic representation of the full chapter. So it will gradually evolve as you go through, if you sincerely keep on doing this exercise as we go through. And hopefully by the time we have come to the end, you will have a fairly good idea of chapter 13. I have explained to you why we have selected chapter 13 and why are we not starting chapter 1, and all those things, and what is our approach to this study. So in here, you will see that I have given a few notes here, and keeping this in mind, we should study this. So today I would like to just get those preliminary ideas sorted out, and then dive deep into it. So the aim of our study of the Gita is to assimilate the principal ideas presented in the Bhagavad Gita. We should not say that, oh, I have read all the Gita. We should not say, I can give the meaning also, or chant them and give the meaning. We should be able to say, I have taken some ideas out of there which appeal to me, and I have dived deep into that, and I am applying that in my everyday life. In other words, it is to be made practical. Otherwise, you will become a philosopher or some pandit, and knowing all the Gita. And Swamiji explains here. So let's go through this. He says, Swami Vivekananda says, we must have life building, men making, character making assimilation of ideas. If you have assimilated 5 ideas and made them your whole life, and you have more education than any man who has got by heart the whole library. In this context, if you have assimilated 5 ideas and put them into practice, you have benefited from the Gita more than somebody who has memorized the whole of the Bhagavad Gita and give talks and lectures and whatever is there. So it's all about applying them. Different people will take different things from this according to their position in life or situation or perspective or their needs. I, as a Swami, will take in one way. You, from wherever your perspective, you'll find certain other things that are practical and relevant to you. So each one of us will approach that. And if we have some insight, some application, it will be nice to share with others also, saying, this is what I took out of it, and this is what I'm applying, and it's making this knowledge and wisdom is making a difference how I'm approaching life challenges and all that. Remember, the Bhagavad Gita is not taught to somebody who is sitting in a mountain cave, some yogi who is trying to realize the Atman. It is taught to somebody, a warrior in the battlefield of life, and his problem is nowhere, your problems are nowhere as big as his problem. And yet, if you see, if these powerful teachings of the Bhagavad Gita, the Vedanta philosophy, can help somebody who is now in such a dire strait, confused about his duty, responsibility, maybe afraid of doesn't know what dharma is, wanting to run away from the battlefield. For many years, he was trying to have that battle because he was a great warrior. And now at that crucial juncture when everyone has really got ready to fight, this man is on his knees, shaking, shivering. The bow and arrows are slipping out of his hand. And he's making all this apparently smart excuses for not fighting. To such a man who is literally on his knees, and many a time you will find that in our life, when things are good, we are all good. But when challenges come, they really bring us to our knees, helpless. And so at that time, at that crucial juncture, Sri Krishna, who had been Arjuna's friend for many days, they have been eating, hunting, playing, whatever. Never did Sri Krishna broach the topic, teachings of Gita, and neither did Arjuna ask for them. So because he knew that if he started telling, this fellow might say like "Hum sab janta hai" type category, and he doesn't need it. So the Lord knows that he has to bring him to a situation where he realizes the insufficiency of all his knowledge and everything. Then only he will truly open himself to this knowledge. And that applies to all of us also. Many a time we think we are all good. We don't need God and religion and all those things. But then crises will come in life. And those crises are a blessing in disguise, because then they help us open our minds and heart to some higher wisdom. So it's how we approach that. And if you reflect on your life, those good days when everything was nice were not very educated. Those challenging days where a lot of hardship and trouble was there, they are the ones that they bring out the fire out of you. So there's another whole psychology behind it, how exercise and all stress is necessary to manifest the power within us. And in that situation, Sri Krishna teaches Arjuna. But he says, you require only a few ideas. Otherwise, we can finish the whole of the Bhagavad Gita. And the situation, like Swami Vivekananda says, the donkey carrying a load of sandalwood only knows the weight and not the value of the sandalwood or the fragrance of it. So we don't want us to say at the end, we have learned so many things. The question should be, at the end of the year, you should turn around and say, we learned so many things and we are applying that, and this is really, really valuable how we are approaching life. That knowledge we want, the fragrance of the sandalwood we want. So that's why I'm taking a little bit of pain to drill you through the idea of this assimilation. If education is only identical with information, the libraries are the greatest sages in the world and encyclopedias. I've added this Ch13 also. Are the rishis, you ask any question, they give you so much information on the spot. So Swami Vivekananda says the whole science of yoga is directed to the end of teaching men how, by intensifying the power of assimilation. This is the secret of it. See, not everyone is able to intensify it. Means you can focus it to one point. Let me give you an example. On a sunny day, when the sun is shining, if you put a piece of paper out in the sun, well, not very much happens. But if you can intensify that light by using a magnifying glass and pointing it to one spot, that intensity of that heat will set that piece of paper on fire. And in our own body, we have got this type of devices also. So when light enters into the eyes, we have got a device called the eye lens. What does it do? It focuses the eye, the light that's coming in, intensifies it in one point where the light receptors, rods and cones are there. The same thing for the ear. You see, the ear focuses that sound coming and channelizes through the ear hole. And those animals that depend so much on sound for, say, survival, you see, they have got very large ears and they can move it around like the cow can do to pick up the faintest of sound if there's a threat of an animal or some wild animal attacking. So this intensification of mental energy on a point, that means the whole concentration should not be scattered on so many ideas. You should be able to point it to one point. And what happens then? Just like the piece of wood, when you have got that light focused, sunlight focused on that, it ignites and releases its light and heat. Likewise, the knowledge that is embedded in these verses that are there, when you can intensify and focus your whole mind onto it, you'll find that the meaning begins to come out of it and beautiful, and you say, wow, that was so good, that was like amazing, penny dropped or something. So this is something that you'll have to do throughout the week. We'll discuss one or two verses and then you maybe write it down on a piece of paper and keep on churning and looking it there, or put it on the face, what you call phones, screensaver, whatever, or carry it in a piece of paper on your pocket, but revisit again and again and ask the question, what was the idea in Sri Krishna's head, which he has encoded in this Sanskrit verse? And now I'm trying to decode it. In the middle, all this language and everything has come, but I want that message, the message in my head as clearly as possible. Then the transmission of the idea from his head into our head by the media of the recording of this Gita and our discussion will be fruitful. So keep in focus on that. And what does it happen? When we intensify the power of assimilation, what does it? It shortens the time that is taken to reach perfection. instead of slowly advancing from point to point and waiting until the whole human race has become perfect. And all the great prophets, saints and seers of the world, Buddha, Christ, Ramakrishna, if you look at their own spiritual life, how intense they were. Tremendous intensity that they forgot everything else. And many of us will say, hey, we can't do that. We have got our jobs and duties. But we say, look, when you sit down for study, give your whole mind. When you sit down to a meditation, everything else should be put away. Give the whole mind onto that mantra or the object of meditation. In this way, whatever you do, if you're cutting a vegetable, if you're doing your sweeping, you are driving, try to give that whole mind into that. So basically you're training the mind during all these little activities, which you call duties and responsibilities, and you're converting them into a exercise to develop your power of concentration. And so it's, it's not just like this is a worldly work and I wish I didn't have time to do, type of thing. No, everything can be given a spiritual value and outcome if you can approach it with that right perspective. So yeah, and if you can do that during that day as much as possible, then you'll find that the mind, when you sit down for meditation, is a better mind, because you have been preparing it throughout the day. And when you sit for that, a natural concentration would be there. So this is what this is very important. In one span of life, these great prophets lived the life of the whole humanity, transverse the whole length of time that it takes ordinary humanity to come to perfection. In one life, they perfected themselves. They have no thought of anything else, never live a moment for any other idea, and thus the way is shortened for them. And not only in religion, great scientists, researchers, they spend their hours, day and night, weeks, weekends, researching, thinking, contemplating. You see, the whole mind is focused on that. Look at the university professors have all this long hair, shirt hanging out, not shaven, bag hanging there, and he's walking down the full footpath. But where is his mind? He doesn't care what he looks like. He doesn't have time for all the physical appearances and all that, because he's so engrossed in the subject matter that he's studying. So when that intensity comes, you'll find that the superficial external things you don't pay so much attention to. This is what is meant by concentration, intensifying the power of assimilation, thus shortening the time. And meditation, which is called Raj Yoga, is a science which teaches us how to gain the power of concentration. So that little bit of meditation that you are doing morning and evening, that concentrated mind is now to be focused on to this subject matter, and hopefully the knowledge will come out and give us that light to see the world in a better way. So I thought I would share that as to what tool you need, mental tool, a concentrated mind, great intensity and focus, churning the idea through the mind again and again and again. And the more you rub the sandalwood, more the fragrance will come. The more you contemplate on the meanings, not on the words, the meanings behind these teachings, the more knowledge will illumine your mind with its own luminosity and effulgence. So in the modern world, in the Western way, how is that assimilation talked about? Education. So assimilation of ideas involves processing the ideas through all the 6 stages as per the following. Those who are familiar with education, they know that there is something called Bloom's, Dr. Benjamin Bloom. He's the one who designed this taxonomy of cognitive development. Cognitive means logical thinking. So if you have a child at home and you want to develop the person's mind into a beautiful, rational, very sharp, clear, intellect, then you have to train that mind, just like the child has to be, and if you want to develop strong muscles, you go to the gym and do so many exercises in a systematic way, not randomly, not haphazardly. You take the help of an instructor who knows all the muscles and sets them a plan for you, in which order gradually you do them. Don't overdo them and harm yourself. Don't do the wrong exercise. So there's a science of manifesting the muscular energy. There's a science of manifesting the intellectual muscle, so to say. And that comes through what is called a taxonomy. Taxonomy means a hierarchy, one step, one behind the other. So these are called 6 of them. And I thought, before we dive into the chapter 13 of the Bhagavad Gita, I wanted to discuss this so that while we're going through that, you do not just do a little bit of knowledge and a little bit of comprehension and that's it, or a little bit of application, then not knowing that other stages are also there for you to process that idea that we'll pick up. So let me just take you through this. There are 6 stages. The first one is called knowledge. Sometimes it's called information. Second one is called comprehension or understanding. Third is called application, applying that idea. Then most of our education in school, university basically ends up here. Do you know this? Can you explain this? Can you apply this, solve this problem? These higher skills of analysis, synthesis, and evaluation are really the core assets of education. And you'll understand by the time I finish the explanation that those who have developed this analytical skill and synthetical skill and evaluation, they are the real leaders in everything, whichever profession you are in. I'll explain that. So what is knowledge? It's pretty easy. Knowledge is defined as remembering of the previously learned material. So if I ask you, hey, what's the Bhagavad Gita verse 1? And you can rattle it off. You say, I know it. Okay, I know it. And this is it. I write it down. And if the teacher was just saying, state the verse 1, then you will write it down and you'll get full marks there. But the next question could be, hey, do you understand it? The person says, no, I've been chanting this mantra, Brahmarpanam, Brahmavi, and everything every day, Vasatoma Sadgamaya, but I don't know what's the meaning. So the next stage after information or knowledge is comprehension, understanding. What is it? This may involve the recall of a wide range of material from specific facts to complete theories, but all that is required is the bringing to the mind the appropriate information that's stored there. Knowledge represents the lowest level of learning outcomes in the cognitive domain. And when the teachers ask the question, they will use this type of words: arrange, define, duplicate, label, list, memorize, name, order, blah, blah. You can read through that. When they're asking, using this type of words in the question, they're basically asking the knowledge. The next stage comes comprehension, understanding. It is defined as the ability to grasp the meaning of the material. So in science, if you say, what is Ohm's law? Is V is equal to IR. What's the meaning? Then you must know what is voltage, current, and resistance, and what is the relationship between all those type of things. So that would be the meaning. Likewise, behind the knowledge, everything they say understanding. So here, after the verse, you should be able to give the meaning in your own language, in your own words. Maybe try to explain, tell that in your mother tongue. If you have comprehended it, you would be able to bring it out because the meaning has been digested. So it's defined as the ability to grasp the meaning of material. This may be shown by translating material from one form to the other, words to numbers. That's why we are asking you to put that in the pictorial form. So when you are asking, convert that idea into diagrammatic form, it will force you to go through this process of comprehension and all those type of things. And interpreting material, like explaining it, summarizing it, or estimating future trends, etc. And the words that are used: classify, describe, discuss, explain, express, and so on. Then comes the application. What does application say? Refers to the ability to use, learn material in new and concrete situations. This may include the application of such things as rules, methods, concepts, principles, laws, and theories. And the learning outcomes in this area require a higher level of understanding than those just under comprehension. So somebody says, okay, you have read the Bhagavad Gita and you have memorized it also, and you have memorized the translations also. But my friend, are you applying it? You said, oh, no, I do not know how to apply it. It's not relevant in my life anywhere. So that is the third stage, and we must go there also. Then we go to these other stages, which are the really important ones. Analysis means the ability to break down material into its component parts so that its organizational structure may be understood. This may include the identification of parts, analysis of the relationship between parts, recognition of the organizational principles involved. Learning outcomes here represent a higher intellectual level than comprehension and application because they require an understanding of both the content and the structural form of the material. Let me give an example. So you take a car to a mechanic and say, my car is giving some funny sound. Okay. And the mechanic says, okay, he must have the capacity to take that engine apart into its very various parts and lay it out all the parts separately on the floor. And then he should be able to examine each one of them and say, hey, this one looks good, it needs to be changed, this one has to be cleaned and everything. So analysis is something like that, breaking things into their parts. Here we'll be breaking the chapter into verses or into various concepts. Maybe in chapter 13, there are 5 key ideas, concepts. So we'll break that into 5, try to understand them separately. In our human body, when you take food, we break them into its sugars and amino acids and vitamins and all those things. That's how we can ingest ideas and take it within ourselves. If you give an accounting report to an accountant, he breaks it into different sections. If we make somebody a manager of a factory, he will break the operations into different departments. This is electrical, this is mechanical, this is communication, this is management and everything. These are the departments, so he can handle each one of them. Some people are very good, and you give them a complicated thing, they say, all right, I know the skills. One by one, he will look at, examine each one of them and understand them. Then, and so for this, when this type of skill is being questioned, the verbs that are like analyze, appraise, calculate, categorize, compare, contrast, criticize, differentiate. When you see this type of questions being asked in the examinations, basically the teacher is trying to check your analytical skills. After analysis comes synthesis, its counterpart, which is the ability to put parts together to form a new whole. Okay, so the mechanic should be able to put the engine together. The manager on the factory should be able to put the operations of all the departments together. But maybe when he had analyzed it separately, he said, oh, that particular department requires some tweaking, some investment there, some change in operations there. And if I do that, then the overall efficiency and effectiveness of the operations becomes better. So if he has that skill, he will be able to pick that, make that little adjustment, and then, make an improvement in the operations there. So when you go to a doctor and say, hey, doc, I've got a little pain here. What does the doctor do? He says, go and do this blood test and all those things. He's trying to analyze. Then he looks at the data and says, infer from that, how is the kidney, how is the liver, various operations. And then he will put it together. Put it together in the sense he will not treat each one separately. He will try to treat as a collective. Because while we try to understand the body as digestive system, nervous system, skeletal system, muscular system, the body does not say I'm all different things. He says I'm one integrated thing. So it has to be treated in that way. So the knowledge of Vedanta that we are talking about, it's not any little chapter here, chapter there. This was just a way of putting by Shri Krishna into these 18 chapters. But it's talking about that one integral, total, comprehensive, harmonized entity which we are. So while we're reading all these chapters, and these approaches are there, Bhakti Yoga, Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Dhyana Yoga, Seva Yoga, all these yogas, do not think they're watertight compartments, but they are all integrated. And that idea that everything is beautifully integrated is represented in the logo of the Ramakrishna Mission. So here you go, see? Look at this logo. This was designed by Swami Vivekananda. He says, the rising sun is Jnana Yoga. Okay, the path of knowledge. So when sun rises, all the darkness is dispelled and you see things in the proper perspective. So when your jnana, or the intellectual power of discrimination, becomes very shining, fine, then you'd be able to discriminate between what is real and unreal, right and wrong, good and bad, and all those things. So this is called Jnana Yoga. Bhakti Yoga is represented by this lotus. So in the lotus, when it's in a bud form, it has a potency that something is hiding there, then it opens and unfolds and reveals a beautiful flower. So this represents the heart, emotions, kindness, compassion, love, affection, and all those things are there. They bloom when, express themselves when the lotus of the heart blooms. So he has put a lotus there. Then you see this water in waves. And water in waves means karma yoga. The mind, we are incessantly, continuously active. Activity does not mean physical activity. It means activity physically, mentally, spiritually. All forms of activity is karma. So that karma, if you do not know how to manage, it can bind you, because the karma phala, you identify, I'm the doer, the result comes to me. It makes me happy, I'm successful, and if, otherwise opposite. So if we do attach ourselves to the karma phala, then we get bound, and that bondage will bring us back to this life. The secret of karma yoga is to be detached from the fruit of the work. Do the work, surrender it to the divine, knowing him to be the Antaryamin, sitting in our heart. He is the real doer, working through the body, mind, ego. We are just an instrument. How do we develop that idea beautifully, that we are always conscious of his doership and we are his servant, or we are his instrument? The relationship of a master and servant is a wonderful thing. Anyway, that is the art of karma yoga. And surrounding that is the snake, which represents the Raj Yoga, the path of meditation. This is the Kundalini Shakti that is sleeping silently at the base of the spinal cord in every jiva. And through meditation, that Kundalini is awakened and made to rise along the Sushumna. As it rises through the various chakras, different planes of consciousness open until the Kundalini Shakti merges with the Supreme Shiva or Paramatman at the top of the head, the 1,000-petal lotus in the head. So these are the 4 yogas, but he has not made them one snake here and one sun there. He has harmonized them, saying that these are the 4 faculties. First one is the head or the intellect. Second one is the heart, which is the emotion. Third one is action, hands, head, heart, hands, surrounded by this yoga. And if you can develop all these 4 faculties that have been given to us, direct them in the spiritual direction, not in the material worldly direction only, then one can realize the Paramhamsa, the supreme swan, which is representing the Atman. That's our spiritual nature. Why is it a swan? A swan is a bird that is said if he gives it some milk, it can take the essence, the milk, and leave the water behind. So likewise, a person who has realized the truth, who has been able to attain samadhi, he would be able to separate the spirit from matter. And that means he is a realized human goal. And among the spiritual traditions in India, anyone who has realized that highest level is bestowed this particular title in recognition of his spiritual attainment, his or her spiritual attainment, and he's called Paramhamsa. So that's why Sri Ramakrishna is many times referred as Sri Ramakrishna, Paramhamsa Ramakrishna. So anyway, this is the potential divinity in all of us. We see in great illumined souls fully manifest, but it is there potentially in all of us, and the means to manifest that are given to us. Jnana Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Karma Yoga, Dhyana Yoga, all of them develop. Don't be one-sided, neglect the others. Just only too much of bhakti without a jnana makes you some emotional, sentimental person. Too much intellect will make us intellectually dry. No rasa in there. Too much activity without the proper thinking and devotion make us just meaningless, senseless workers. So everything has to be harmonized, and this is the ideal for the modern age. We have these wonderful capacities that have been given in the human body-mind complex. They can be turned around, not just to earn a living and living in this world and then dying, but in the spiritual direction to attain that spiritual supreme swan, which is our spiritual self. Beautiful idea. And since this logo is here, I thought I'll bring you back to that. So coming here to this idea of analysis and synthesis. In synthesis, these 4, just like the 4 yogas have been synthesized into one whole, likewise, this capacity of the mind to synthesize the ideas that we which we sort of broke into the analysis part of it, to be recomposed into a new whole. Now, it happens all the time. You eat food, you chew it, break it down, you put some enzymes, saliva and everything, it breaks down into its amino acids, sugars and vitamins. Then you take the essence out of the bloodstream into the bloodstream and deliver it to the cell. And what does the cell do? Those nutrients which were plant tissue, it composes into the tissue of your body according to your need. It might be muscle or hair, or skin, or particular tissue of any particular organ. So it composes a new whole by taking the parts. Synthesis would mean the mechanic putting the engine together. the doctor reinterpreting all that information that he is acquired from the various tests and having one comprehensive picture about the health or the problem in the body. And it could be, symptom could be something else and the cause might be something else, but if he treats integrally, then it's, well, and that's why sometimes we find, the specialists, they just look at one thing and the rest of the body is like, hey, you go to another specialist. Why can't a good doctor treat the body holistically? There are different medicine forms like in Ayurveda where they don't treat separately, they treat as a whole in a holistic way. Anyway, so this capacity of the mind to synthesize ideas, put the big picture in a very clear way. If this is not developed systematically during our education system by our teachers, we just mugged up so much information and brought it out in the examination and got a certificate. Then when you really go into the work field, you are asked to do these things where the analytical and synthetical capacities are tested. And that's where some are wonderful, they succeed, and others, they don't do so well. So bringing up children, training them at school, at home, make sure that you understand that these muscles of the mind are also trained by various activities that you give them. Just don't give them some games to keep them busy. You understand this type of things because you are training their minds, and it is with that mind that they're going to handle the challenges in this world. So as parents and teachers, there's a wonderful opportunity to train them. And if you do not know them, then you just send them to school, pay the school fees and send them the lunch pack, and you think the teacher will do everything. Then we come to evaluation. So the mechanic, you took the car to the mechanic, he split it all apart, then he put it all together with some new parts and he starts the engine. What does he do? And he then listens to the sound. And if it's not perfectly, then he'll perfectly sounding in the proper way, then he'll go and make some fine adjustments until he's very happy that now the engine is like purring away, it's not splurting some sound, pat like that. You went to the doctor and he evaluated your health and found the cause of it, and then he gave some medicines, and after he says, come back to me after 3 weeks or whatever. And what he's doing, he's evaluating whether the medicine worked or how long the medicine should continue or something else should be added there. That is evaluation. The engineer, the manager who was given in charge of a factory, and the factory was not doing very well, so he came and analyzed it into various departments, and he found certain sections or departments that were not performing very well. He recommended certain changes in there. Then he watches and sees after some time and says, hey, how is it running? And suddenly sees the productivity and efficiency and everything has improved and it's going. A accountant, he made some changes in some departments and whatever processes, and now the profit has gone up. See, these skills, analysis, synthesis, evaluation, make us successful in our everyday life. And this same mind is what we are going to use in our spiritual study. It's not that you have a different mind at the time of meditation and another one when you're sitting in a boardroom meeting. It's the same mind. And if you train it well through your meditation, you'll find your performance at work will become easy. You are sharp, you grasp the idea, you come up with the right solutions, wonderful ideas, you can get promoted or whatever thing because it's making valuable contribution and all those things. And whatever you do at work, because you are sharpening your mind there, when you come back and sit down for meditation, that exercise is helping in your meditation also. In reality, there is no demarcation saying this is religious or spiritual and the other is secular and worldly and work only. Life is life. There's one existence only. In our misunderstanding, we have separated the two and thinking one is different from the other. We are one being only, and we should try to develop ourselves in a holistic way. At work, we should be intensely active, extremely efficient, and apply the mind to the best effective way. And then that same mind, when we're sitting down for Japan meditation, should have that same laser beam type pointedness so that it focus on that mantra and your chosen ideal with such great intensity that the energy of that mantra awakens and connects you to the deepest source of being, the spiritual entity that we really are. So I thought, before we dive into this Bhagavad Gita, as part of our introduction, to take you through this idea also. And these ideas that are there, I do not know, some of you must be knowing them if you are have been involved in the field of education. Every school teacher, they are taught these things. So that when they design the curriculum or they teach children in the classroom, they should consciously know that these subject matter, textbook problems, exercises are different exercises by which they try to exercise the muscles of the mind, so to say, and develop the capacity of knowing, understanding, applying, analyzing, synthesizing, evaluation, and all those 6 stages should be done properly. Only then you come out with a well-trained mind. And most of the time, the problems that you'll be solving in life have nothing to do with the types of questions that you're writing in the examination. Life will throw you totally new situations. But if you have these skills, then with a calm mind, you'll know how to approach them, understand, comprehend, apply, do the analysis part, do the synthesis, find the solution, go through that loop. Sometimes this one will go into a couple of loops around until more and more clarity comes. But at the end of the day, you have really assimilated the idea. It has become part of you. So when we go through the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 13, or any chapters, any idea we pick up, we would like to say that just like food was taken in, ingested, digested, absorbed, analyzed, and composed into body tissue, likewise, this knowledge that are given, the spiritual knowledge, should not be just simply knowledge and understanding, and that's all where it ends. No, we would like to take a few of these ideas, whichever appeals to you. You don't have to understand the whole of Bhagavad Gita, 1 or 2 ideas, but you must dive deep to the very source. And that is how success is attained. We hope that you will find some very interesting ideas. And when you go through that, you will see Sri Krishna is approaching these things, So when he's analyzing the Purusha and the Prakriti, or detailing things there, and then later on he will try to synthesize them and try to show that that knowledge can lead to mature as a spiritual knowledge. So I thought I will share this with you. Please go through this and try to understand, and now and then refer to this as you're going through the chapter and say, hey, are you doing all the steps? If not, then try to take it to the next level, process it. And if you have some insights, share them with the rest of the team. We want this to be a group study. So that was by way of introduction. What we will do in our way of approaching this is we, just like for the Pratyaya Vijnana Hridayam, we went through this introduction, get an overview of the whole thing. 20 verses are there. Then now we are going through each verse, but no Sanskrit, just English and simple meaning. We're completing that. So there's a second round is there, more clarity comes. Then we dive deep into the real Sanskrit and the commentary and the details. But if you just dive straight away into the first verse and started drilling in there into the details, it will get very complicated and you will not be able to, in your mind, relate what is this to do with the rest of the thing. It's like the example that I give is, you give a painter a canvas. What does he do? He uses the broad strokes first, in mountains and valleys and this and that, he just makes first. And then he starts putting a little bit more detail all over. And then he keeps on putting more and more detail all across, not in one corner. Imagine another person, he starts in one corner, just like we have this, what is called that puzzle, where you get all these pieces of things together and start fitting from one corner, and it starts taking shape, but you have got no idea what that picture is going to be ultimately, because it's not like the painting thing. He is starting from one corner. So sometimes people take the Gita and things, then start one verse, one chapter, and they really try to drill down there. But the mind needs to relate that idea to the totality. If the total picture is not there, then he is not successful. This commentary, the translations that are given here are based on Swami Gambhiranandaji's translation of Shankaracharya's commentary on the Bhagavad Gita, which is supposed to be the commentary, the most popular one, Advaita Vedanta. And Swami Gambhiranji was one of our Swamis. He was, I think, the 10th president of the Ramakrishna Mission, a Sanskrit scholar. And very simple. Actually, that particular book is used in the Delhi University and other places as the textbook for studying Gita. That's how authentic it is and how good it is in its translation. So in the introduction, let us say, in chapter 7, two aspects of the pure, God is the pure universal soul were briefly mentioned. That means that, what was the first one? That containing the three gunas, which is divided eightfold and is the lava, apara, since it leads to transmigration. If we have that knowledge, then we are in the sense, transmigration is being born and again in that. So if you have that knowledge, you are still caught in the cycle. And the other, which is called para or haya, which has become the individual self. So if you just know about the body and the mind and the ego, we are in the chakra. If you know the Atman, the haya, which is the individual self, which is the knower of the body, that which is essentially divine, this leads to liberation. Through which two aspects, God becomes the cause of creation, continuation, and dissolution of the universe. This chapter 13 determines the true nature of God through the exposition of the two aspects called the field and the knower of the field, Kshetra and Kshetragna. In Fiji, हम लोग बोलते हैं खेत है ना, but that's actually the Sanskrit word Kshetra. Okay, and the knower of the field is the Kshetragna. So this is the subject matter of this particular chapter. These two entities are there. That means there's a consciousness in me, Atman, and then other things are there, right from the body, the mind, the ego, buddhi, and everything. And we want to separate the two. And just like a Paramhamsa, the Supreme Swan can separate matter from spirit, likewise, a realized person is able to separate the consciousness from this body-mind complex. In the previous chapter to this, chapter 12, the enumerates all the qualities of a devotee. Yomad bhakta same priya. Shri Krishna says a devotee should have these qualities, and he makes a list of it. And so the idea is, we'll then try to consciously cultivate them. Those virtues were stated, which when practiced, endear the devotee to Lord. So most of the verses will say, Yomad bhakta, such a devotee, same priya, is very dear to me. Yes, we love God. It's nice, but if God loves us, that's even nicer. How do we make ourselves that even God loves us? That's endears, and this practice is endear the devotee to the Lord. See, then we are the magnet and we attract him. The present chapter shows the knowledge of the reality. So this one was talking about the bhakti part of it. Here it talks about the knowledge of the reality, which is God, which are to accompany the practice of the virtues. If you love somebody, you must know some wonderful qualities about that person. Only then you will love. Otherwise, you don't know anything about it, so he's unknown to you. The more you know about those wonderful qualities, the more that attraction will awaken in your mind. So the more we know the nature, the reality, that there is a wonderful Atman within us, a state which is omniscient, omnipotent, and all those things, which is beyond all ignorance and misery, infinitely beautiful and pure, and then naturally your mind will say, if that is so, then I want that. But if you do not know, then you are happy with yourself and busy with the little tidbits that are coming in our life. So nature consists, which is the Kshetra, consists of the three gunas, Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas, and is transformed into all the bodies, subtle body, gross body, gross body, subtle body, causal body, the various organs, internal and outside, the objects of senses, eating what we eat, drink, see, and accept, becomes aggregated, means composed, and forms the bodies and organs for serving the ends. What are the ends? Why did we have this body? Two ends are there: enjoyment and liberation of the individual soul. Most people are just thinking this is only for enjoyment. The more mature people, spiritually advanced people who have been coming here and there many times, have understood that enjoyment is not the goal. The real goal is moksha, liberation. And that aggregate is this body. In our scriptures, the main scriptures are the Vedas. The Vedas have got two parts, Karma Kanda and Jnana Kanda. The Jnana Kanda is the knowledge part. The culmination of that knowledge part, where all the knowledge, wisdom is crystallized, is called the Upanishads. And among the Upanishads, there are some things called Mahavakyas, great sayings. And each Veda has got one particular small sentence which contains the whole essence of that particular Vedas. And one of those Mahavakyas is Tat Tvamasi. Tat Tvam Asi. Tat means that, Tvam means you, Asi means equal. That means that being, that represents that supreme being, the pure consciousness. Tvam represents that Jivatma which is present inside us. And Asi means they are the same. The Paramatman and Jivatman, when the conditioning is removed, they are of the same essence. That means if you look at the ocean, it is made out of water. You look inside the wave, that is also made out of the water. The water of the wave and the ocean are the same. That is called Tat Tvamasi. In the Bhagavad Gita, the first 6 chapters deal with the idea of Tat, the supreme truth, Paramatma. The next 6 chapters, up to 7 to 12, deal about Tvam. And the last 6 chapters, the 13 to 18, where we are starting, is concerned with the determining the meaning of the sentence as a whole. That means this is where the first 2 are analyzing it. And here we are going to synthesize it. And that's why we are starting in chapter 13, if you wanted to know why some of you would want to start there. But you can always go back and start reading and learn of those other things are there. That means that. That means not out there, it means that highest frequency, highest, subtlest divine being. And since it's out there, Tat means that, that's how my name comes, Tat Ananda, and when you combine that, it becomes Tadananda. So it's denoting the highest supreme truth. Tvam is the divine essence in every jiva, the Antaryami. And Tvam is that, Tat Tvam Asi, thou art that supreme being. That is the essence of the chapters 13 to 18. All right, so here we are. That was the introduction. I hope that was not too much. It has sort of given an insight to what we're trying to achieve in this study, and how you will mentally prepare yourself from what angle and perspective and slant. And as you're going through this, you'll have to go and ask these questions. Okay, is that analysis and synthesis happening, or I'm just simply understanding a little bit of comprehension, and that's where it got stuck? And application, where I'm applying it in my everyday life. So if you keep on processing, you'll find that, and we'll try to take you through this process of application analysis through our discussions. And so the mode would be that every day we will come and take a few verses, maybe 1 or 2 verses together, because they combinedly express an idea. And then we will try to extract the idea out. So I might be asking, so what idea comes out of it? What do you extract out of it? After that breaking and digesting, what do you absorb into your being? And everyone has to prepare yourself. You should not say, oh, Swamiji, and don't repeat the same word there, it's there. That means you have not processed, you're just repeating the thing. That is just not even understanding. That's the knowledge part of it. So little bit of processing. Don't be deterred by it. It might not immediately come there, but at least go through that exercise. Try to process it. Without the exercise, if you do not exercise your muscles, the mental muscles, it will not grow strong. Just like you go to the gym. If you don't do the exercise, the muscles are there, but they don't develop. So that exercise is necessary. And that could be, you're talking with somebody who was at home. Hey, what was that? Let's drill this over. Or so in our, study group, there's a couple of things I wanted to show here is, look, this is what we have tried to give you. If those who are familiar with the Facebook, this looks like a Facebook, all right? And you will see a lot of things are here. So in here, you can see all the members. I'm happy to see that before in the first class, there are 28 people who have registered there. And the idea is that we should have some discussions within ourselves. Please go and into your profile here. Okay, so this is your profile. Edit your profile. In there, you can change your profile photo and cover.
Sorry, Swamiji, You're not sharing that screen.
I'm not sharing the screen. Oh, okay.
We're still seeing the
Thank you.
document.
I'll get to that. Where is this share screen? Okay. Can you see this one?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Sure.
Sorry about that. So here we are in this Bhagavad Gita chapter 13 study group. You might be already there. You see your Zoom and you see, look at the members. So these are the members. I'm the organizer. We've got two people helping me, coordinating and all that. And you'll see, please go and update. I was telling, under your name here, put your photo, go into your profile and put one profile photo, your photo. Don't put something 10 years when you're looking very nice, put some recent one and fill the details in there. And then you explore all this type of things there. There's a lot of things available in here for you to explore. But for each one, you'll see a couple of things like in Facebook. Okay, you can request somebody to become a friend. Okay, if I want to connect with Pramila or somebody there, I just go and say, click this person and you'll get a request. Now you are friends and we can chat across that. You want to follow somebody, you want to send a message to somebody, you can send a message to everyone, or you can just send to the particular person one-to-one. Hey, I've got a question, or this is my thought, some idea. So this allows some interaction and discussion, and that's why we have put it there so that we can make this into a study group after even our classes are going. All right, try to utilize this so that we make this into an interactive thing where we're sharing ideas, some insight if we get, and all those type of things. Please look at that. That's your profile, and so other things are there. Zoom, I hope you have been able to suss that out. What is it? All your talks are there, and the links come from here. Join the meeting. After this, you'll find these three dots are there. After these three dots, you'll find a recording, a video recording tab will add there. And these talks that we're having, Sunil is helping me. Anyone has got some good video editing skills or wants to help and be part of this is most welcome to share the load. And we'll put those videos in that link. So if in case you miss something, you can come back and catch up with that. What else is here? So you got your past meetings will also be there. Okay, and then you have got events. Because I'm an administrator, I can create events and all those things. Discussions. This is your forum. Okay, so this is where people can put a new discussion. Okay, try to put something that's not working, then I'll need to activate it. Feed is like an activity. So like today I sent out a message and it will, I think, show up here. So if anything that you do, so I said, okay, this meeting, anything that is happening on the site, you will see here. Okay, who has joined and what's happening here. These are like the activities in your Facebook. Later on, when we develop some courses, those courses will come here. Documents that we'll share with you that will appear here, which you can download, like this particular document that I have given here. So we will not be sending emails and all those things to you. Try to come to this particular place and you'll find everything. You want to invite somebody to become your friend, then you invite that person. You can send a message. This is for administrator, how I manage this site from here and my assistant. So here we can set all these photos, what are the members, what are the requests, forums, settings, Zoom, events, and all those things. So it's a pretty comprehensive site that is not just like a website with some information and pages. It's a full integrated online learning interactive facility. I thought I'll take you through this so that you know what is there and utilize that to the fullest and see how this can become a good learning discussion platform. All those discussions will be there. As we go through, we'll find all those things there so you can always refer back. And down the line, I'll be asking you to, upload the drawings somewhere. So please keep on developing them. And maybe in verse 10, I said, okay, everyone, please take a photo of whatever I've developed and put there. And we'll just go through that. And you'll find that people will have different approach, different perspectives, will learn from each other. It's much more fun than me just talking all the time. So we have finished our introductory session. You can all put your mics on, and let's have a little 5-minute discussion, and then we'll wind up. Feedback. Any questions, any suggestions, any ideas? Who's going to take a lead?
Swamiji,
Hmm.
Just from this basic discussion that we've had today about the introduction,
Mhm.
I think the essential that reading it and understanding is all fine, but I think that one of the most important part of this exercise is to exercise this, is to do it.
Yeah, definitely. That's the whole point of it. You know, that assimilation, the article analysis synthesis does not mean an intellectual thing. You will take it out into an actual field and apply it. And each one will do it in their own way. So I can't get into your head, in your lifestyle, your need, your situation, and fathom a solution for you. As a Swami, I have my experiences among, you have your own challenge. Everyone has got a different perspective. So each one has to process it and then find opportunities to apply them in the midst of various activities. That's why we want to crystallize those ideas, so that by the time we come to the end, we have tested some ideas and say, hey, I used to get very angry with somebody. I used to lose my cool, but before I'm now applying this and I'm able to manage my poise and balance, or whatever is there. People can share some of those ideas if it inspires somebody, but it's all about practical Vedanta. And Bhagavad Gita is, Swami Vivekananda says, one of the best commentaries on the Vedanta philosophy in terms of its application. Arjuna was not becoming a Pandit and philosopher. No, he applied that in this, in the battlefield of life. So yes, that's a point like Chetan has raised. Everyone has to keep on thinking about it, and good to remind everyone of that. Yeah. Anyone else? All very quiet on the Western Front. Are they there or they're gone? So, no one? Who is Nitin?
Hey,
Oh, sure. Okay.
my son's sci-fi.
Okay, using that phone. Yes,
Yeah.
Neha and Pramila there. Rajdeep is logging in from India. Okay. And Shweta, Sudipta, and Sunil. Well, if there are no more questions, we have finished almost here 1 hour. So we will meet next week. And what we are going to do is we will go through one round, simple reading the English meaning, so that we have the overall big picture of what's the scope of this chapter 13. And then the second round will go in verse by verse by verse, or in sections. And then third round will sort of like to recompose the whole chapter and say, what are the 4 or 5 main ideas? And that should figure out in that final drawing. But it's not just the ideas there. Along that, you will ask, this is my understanding, or these are my applications. That's why we'll ask people. By that time, this might take, maybe, 10, 12 weeks or more. And by that time, you should have some taste of applying that, I hope, and share that experience with us. So your homework is to please go through that and get an overall picture. I don't want to spend too much time in explaining the information part of it. It's pretty straightforward and simple. We would like to have a little bit more discussions. So if you do your homework a little bit more, then it will make things more fun. All right. If there are no more questions, then we can call it a day here today. All right. We'll start to end with a prayer and offer this to the divine. So any study, any knowledge is called Jnani Yajna.
Jnana Bhakti.
Yeah, Yajna means a sacrifice, and the result of the sacrifice we then offer to the divine. Om Asato Ma Satgamaya Tamaso Ma
Satvamana
Mrityorma
Amritam Jamana
Shanti Shanti
Shanti Shanti Shanti
Om Tat Sat Sri Ramakrishna
Krishna.
Arpanamastu.